This is the Louie T Network.
Who else could it be? Me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to lockdown coverage. Week number 1 in the National Football League. Seattle Seahawks taking on the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau Field. This was a game that many people, including myself, looked at as a preview of sorts of what could potentially be the NFC Championship game, or at least some type of matchup in the playoffs. We know these are two of the better teams in the NFC, if healthy. And what you saw from both of these teams in this game was a ton of defense. And you hear the adage every year, and you hear it enough to the point where you start to believe it. I certainly think it's somewhat of a fact that the offenses are a little behind the 8 ball the start of a season. The defenses are out in front, and they're going to be the ones that carry the day early on in the season. Defenses usually start faster than offenses do just because of the nature of those respective positions. On the offensive side of football, it takes cohesion, takes continuity. Guys have to be on the same page. You got to get back into the swing of things. A lot of these guys didn't play a ton of time together in the preseason. Some of these guys didn't play at all in the preseason. And so defensively, it's not hard. Hey, we're playing cover 3 here, okay? Hey, we're going to go with a cover 2 look here. I mean, it's not really hard to tell a guy, hey, you just need to do this on this particular play. Whereas offensively, it takes a lot to get everybody on the same page. With that being said, it was a defensive struggle in this game for both teams. I think the thing that I was most impressed with was the Green Bay Packers defense, just because we know what a train wreck that defense has been over the last couple of years. Aaron Rodgers having to carry this team on his back. It was refreshing to see the defense step up for a change and really hold this team up, because they couldn't get it done offensively in this football game for quite some time. We're going to talk about all of those things, but I think you got to I'd be remiss if I didn't start with some bad calls, no calls by the officials that really impacted the outcome of this game. Obviously, the first one everyone's going to be talking about is the pick 6 by Nash Jones. What a play, first of all, by a rookie out of North Carolina to get his hands on the football. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, throws the football with such velocity, and he just happened to get his hands up and stop the impact of the football. And, oh, look what I found. And he stopped it, and it stuck to him, and he picked it off. It was a hell of a play for a defensive lineman, let alone a rookie, to make. And then for him to be off to the races and no one could catch him, and it's a touchdown. It was a huge play early in this ball game. And to have that wiped away by not one but 2 penalties. One, of course, was nullified by the other, but they were both on the Seahawks. The block in the back, okay, I get it, I guess. I mean, it was unnecessary, to be honest with you. That didn't need to happen. I believe it was Cliff Averill, if I'm not mistaken. But he pushed Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers wasn't going to catch Nash Jones. Even though he had got on his horse and he was trying. The shove, I think, was inconsequential in the long run. But nonetheless, it happened. I get the call. But the whole personal foul, unnecessary roughness on Jeremy Lane for throwing a punch that we didn't see. And we got like 6 different angles. No one ever saw him throw a punch. And all of that action looked like it was initiated by Packers receiver Devontae Adams. I didn't get that at all. That took 7 points off the scoreboard. You could have done without the block in the back, like I said. But, okay, fine. You want to call that one? Okay, I get it. The rules are the rules. He did push Aaron Rodgers in his back. However slight it may have been, okay, fine. The other no call was the one in the end zone on Jimmy Graham. Come on, really? He's not getting mugged by 1, but 2 Packers at that point. How is that not a flag? How is that not pass interference? How is that not first and 10, first and goal from the 1? And the Seahawks are going to get that in somehow. And It was a rough day for both teams' offensive lines. And I'll say this before we get into individual teams. If neither one of these teams show up in the NFC Championship game, there will be a direct correlation, or even if these teams underperform this year, there will be a direct correlation to either one, injuries, or two, offensive line play. Both of those teams' offensive lines were abysmal in this game. Packers have been abysmal for quite some time. So have the Seahawks. They continue to play musical chairs at some point. And I know we kill the Seahawks every year for not investing higher level draft picks in their offensive line. At some point, though, you have to ask yourself, what do you want them to do? They drafted Jermaine Ifedi, and he turns out to be a guard and not a tackle. They've spent picks on guys like Justin Brett, who ended up not being a tackle and ended up being a center. It's hard to figure these things out, especially when you're not picking with a top 15 pick every year. This is a team that is a perennial playoff participant, a P3 as I call it. These guys are in the playoffs every single year, so they're not getting a top 15 pick. They don't get to pick one of the top tackles out of college football. They got to try to make it work. Now, I do beat them up because I would like to see them take more shots at these guys, more tackles. Don't just take one tackle or one offensive lineman and keep it moving and then spend a fifth and a sixth round pick on another offensive lineman and say, hey, Tom Cable, here you go. Take these guys, take these rejects, take these undrafted guys like George Font, who used to be a basketball player, and turn them into an offensive lineman. That being said, when you incur injuries before the season even starts, like George Font at the left tackle position goes down for the season, and now you have to put in a guy that essentially has never really started for you, it does present some problems up front for Russell Wilson and that Seattle Seahawks offensive line, and it did in this game. Let's start with the Seahawks in this game before we get to the Packers, who were able to get the win. It looks eerily similar to last year. The only difference is Russell Wilson is healthy this time around, but the offensive line gave him no time. Literally, the first possession of the game was foreshadowing as to what was to come for the rest of the game. The very first play of the game, Nick Perry blows up your left tackle, Reese Oshinabo, out of Boise State, and it wasn't pretty, and he struggled all game long. And that was a theme of the day. Your interior guys, Luke Jokel, who you got in free agency from Jacksonville to play left guard, he got beat by Mike Daniels, who beat everybody along that offensive line in the interior. And that was one of the biggest plays of the game, him winning on the interior, getting to Russell Wilson, forcing a fumble that led to a touchdown for the Packers in this game. And so when you struggle the way the Seattle Seahawks did in this game to protect up front, you're not going to get a big chunk plays in the run game, which I was actually impressed with Chris Carson. He's been impressive all offseason long, and I didn't expect him to make this roster when they selected him in the draft in the 7th round. I just thought, okay, he's another guy you throw in the mix. He'll probably be on the practice squad, but due to all the injuries, he got an opportunity. He looked damn good in the preseason. He looked good in this game, had a 30-yard run that set up some points for the Seahawks in this game, but besides that, there wasn't much to speak of on the ground. There wasn't much to speak of through the air, and it was because Russell Wilson didn't have time. If not for a possession right before halftime, they have no points, just like the Packers would have had no points. They would have had no offense. Literally, they had one play that Russell Wilson had before the half that surpassed the amount of total yards they had in the first half. On one play, a hookup with Baldwin down the sidelines. And that just shows you how they struggled and how inept the offense was. And that's going to be a problem for them. I think they'll find a way to get it going. No Jermaine Kearse. He was traded away right before the season started, obviously. So you're trying to work other guys in there. The offensive line is going to be the key. You hate to have Russell Wilson have to run around helter-skelter all the time to make plays. You'd like him to be able to just settle in the pocket, make some reads, and make the proper throws, but that's not available to them right now. As for the defense, they are who we thought they are or were going into the season. They're a dominant bunch that's going to have to lead this team until the offense figures it out, if they ever figure it out along the offensive line. They are able to get pressure. They pressured Rodgers all day. And even with the Jeremy Lane ejection from the game, your young rookie Shaquille Griffin came in. I thought he was outstanding. So, I mean, you didn't really miss a beat with Lane not in the game. The defense held their own. And again, if not for some turnovers and some bad positions that they were put in this game, this could have been a different outcome because the defense did what they had to do to give this team a chance. I mean, anytime you hold the Green Bay Packers to only 17 points in Lambeau Field, you're doing something well. And this defense was up to the challenge. Unfortunately, the offense was not. But we know this Seahawks defense is the catalyst for this football team. We know they're the engine that makes this team go. And you saw a little bit of that again. And just a little bit of a reminder that this defense is still legit. Players are getting older. It's the same cast of characters. You may substitute a player here, player there. Terrence Garvin is in at linebacker, but he looks good. He fits to what they want to do. Fast, speed, able to get to the quarterback, able to drop into his zones and run up and rally and tackle. So some of the pieces may change, but the nucleus remains the same. It's still the Legion of Boom. It's still guys like Bennett up front and Averill up front. It's still guys like KJ Wright and Bobby Wagner at linebacker. It's still the same nucleus, and they're still getting it done at a very high level. And they just struggle in Lambeau, period. End of discussion, as most teams do. They still can't find a way to get it done in Lambeau, and they fall 17-9 in this ball game. You move on to the Green Bay Packers side of things. This wasn't an impressive performance, but look, against one of the best teams in the NFC, because we all feel like Seattle's going to be that at the end of the season, you'll take a 17-9 victory. Again, no one's going to look at this win 8 weeks from now and say, well, they only beat Seattle 17-9. You get the W, you figure it out as you move on, and you keep it moving. And that's what they did in this game. Doesn't matter how it looks on paper. Doesn't matter how it looked on the television. Doesn't matter how it looked in person. As long as at the end of the day, you look up at the scoreboard and you have more points than your opponent, you'll take it and you'll move forward. And that's what the Packers did in this game. But it was not pretty at all. The offensive line struggled mightily. You lose some pieces in the offseason, and you can tell it's showing. Rodgers was under duress. And again, you're not going to see this type of front each and every single week. You're not going to see a defense this talented every single week. So that you can take a little bit of solace in knowing that this might be one of the toughest defenses you're going to see all season long. That being said, you did not rise to that occasion, and it was not pretty offensively, and you did struggle to run the football. You did struggle to protect Aaron Rodgers. He did have to run around. He did take some shots in this game. He did get up grimacing at one point, which is what you don't want to see if you're a Packers fan. But at the end of the day, Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers, throws for over 300 yards, finds a way to get his team in the end zone, albeit a forced fumble by the defense, setting you up in prime field position. They did move the football down the field yet again and get in the end zone. So Aaron Rodgers continues to do what he needs to do to help his team win. And so on that side of the football, you just continue to say work in progress. Offensive line has to be better. But in any event, with number 12 back there, locked and loaded and ready to go, I'll always give the Packers a chance offensively. No matter what five guys are in front of him blocking, Aaron Rodgers is still the man, and he'll still have a chance to get it done at the end of the day. I want to talk about this Packers defense because that's what I was most impressed with watching this game. This defense has struggled year in and year out. The secondary was very young last year. They were tested, and they did not pass the test. A lot of injuries, a lot of young guys having to be thrusted into the spotlight, and they simply were not ready. Teams abused this defense in the secondary. I didn't think they got consistent enough pressure on the quarterback. And so to see them not only get consistent pressure on the quarterback, and again, some of that has to do with the lack of stability in Seattle up front and the lack of talent, for that matter, in Seattle along that offensive line. But I don't give a damn. They put guys that are inferior in front of you. You whoop their ass. You get to the quarterback. You make life a living hell for them. That's what they did in this game. I want to see them continue to do that. But what I was more impressed with were the linebackers flowing to the football in the secondary, holding down what is a very talented and speedy Seattle Seahawks wide receiving core. We make fun of those guys, Baldwin and Richardson and all of those guys, Lockett, and we talk about how these guys are no-name receivers and we don't give them a lot of credit. But Somehow, some way, every year they're performing, especially Baldwin, putting up big numbers. And yet this secondary, I thought, did a fabulous job. They got Jimmy Graham. Jimmy who? Okay, we didn't really hear from him in this game. Granted, they missed the pass interference penalty in the end zone. Still, the secondary needs to be given credit because I thought they did a fabulous job of holding down a talented wide receiving group and staying with them. Russell Wilson loves to create off schedule. That means you got to guard a guy for an extra 4 seconds than you would normally do. And they did a really bang-up job of sticking with these receivers, not giving Russell Wilson outlets to throw the football to these guys down the field when things break down. I thought it was a great defensive performance by Packers defense that I don't think we're going to get this from them every single week. I don't think this is who they might be moving forward. But if they can get a semblance of this, because that Packers offense is going to figure it out, they're going to be better because Aaron Rodgers is that quarterback. If this defense can be anywhere near what we saw tonight, this is going to be the best team in the NFC, hands down, okay? If they can get this defense to perform anywhere near what we saw today, Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, they'll figure out the rest of the parts. They got a ton of tight ends. They'll figure out how to integrate everyone, just like it took them a little time last year to integrate Jared Cook. But once they figured it out, once he was healthy, he made some big plays for them. They're going to figure out all these tight ends that they have and all these new weapons. They're going to get it done on offense. If this defense can show up, get after the quarterback, create turnovers, short fields for Aaron Rodgers and company, this is going to be a dangerous Green Bay Packers team. And that was the takeaway from this game. I don't know if what I saw today was legit because of what offensive line they were in front of today. That offensive line in Seattle might be one of the worst collective groups in the league. So I don't want to overblow what I saw, but I'm telling you this much. If that is in fact the Packers defense that we are getting in 2017, a semblance of that, week in, week out, this is going to be a tough Packers team to deal with this season. That is for certain. Again, this was a battle of the behemoths. These are the two best teams in the NFC. I think we'll be able to figure that out, make that declaration by about week 6 or 7. We'll know that, okay, in that week 1 matchup, we probably saw two of the best teams in the NFC. A lot of people feel that way. I know I do. That we probably were watching two of the better teams in the NFC go at it. And they were a stalemate for a long time in this game. But at the end of the day, Packers made some plays. Got a little bit of help from the officials. That never hurts. But at the end of the day, they got it done. They made the plays. They got the conversions late in this game, kept the football away from the Seahawks. They did what they needed to do defensively. They did what they needed to do offensively to get it done 17-9. We've got a little bit of time. So if anybody's out there and you have a comment, use the hashtag LouieTLive to have your comment read. Let's see if we got a couple of comments I might be able to get to today. Damn. Sorry to hear that, Reed, man. Hey, hang in there, bro. I know it's going to be rough for you, man. Damn. BE says, thank you, Packers, for that win. Can't let Seattle take a lead in the division. Hey, BE, I'm going to tell you, it's going to be rough for you this year. I don't know. Look, you need to have hope. It's only week 1, but I didn't even watch a game, but I know Carson Palmer stunk it up. He stinks. And that's what I tried to warn you, that he was already talking retirement in the offseason. I can't wait to watch that game to see how bad those interceptions were. And then to make matters worse, you tell me DJ hurt himself. Now, I know the x-rays were negative. Thank God, because if anything happens to him, your season is done. Done, I tell you. So just be glad that he's not injured seriously, but the fact that he's hurt, period, is not good news for you because you can't afford to have anything go wrong with him if you want your team to have a shot this season. Blackbird Blitz says, Falcons tight end Austin Hooper is the new Gronk, beats mode. Hooper's stiff arm is Bodak yellow. I saw that. That was the slowest touchdown in NFL history. Boy, is he slow, but he got the job done on an 88-yard touchdown. That's big. Torres, the GOAT, says, how many recaps are you going to do? I'm going to break down every single game. All of the games that I've watched today, I've broken down already. I watched the Steelers and the Browns already. I watched the Packers and the Seahawks. I watched the Redskins. Did a quick 5-minute one on that one. Going to do the Sunday night game, so come back for that. Right after the Giants and Cowboys, I'll be here live Sunday night football overtime. I'll be back for that. So come back and join me. And then tomorrow, lockdown coverage all day long. I'll be breaking down each and every single contest from today's action tomorrow. As I watch the games, I will break them down systematically one by one tomorrow. So, and I'll do that every week for the entire NFL season. So come back and join me. Vincent Coe says, what do you think about Sheldon Richardson? Can he help Can he help for the defense? Well, the offense is ugly still anyways, LOL. No doubt. I thought he had a solid performance in his Seattle Seahawks debut, and he's going to fit right in. Like I said, he fits in with the ferocious front that can get after the quarterback. He had his moments where he was back there causing and creating havoc. He's going to be just fine. He's going to add to what the Seahawks do, and he's going to make them that much tougher to deal with on the defensive side of the football. So I think that was a nice acquisition for a guy like Curse. You just trade him straight up. And Curse, where you feel like he's a dime a dozen receiver, I feel like you got the better end of that trade, and you've got a guy that is going to be a big-time player for you moving forward. Let's keep it moving. Blackbird Bliss says, best team in the NFC, hands down. Have you bumped your head, son? Yeah, I didn't forget about your Falcons. I just don't think they're going to be one of the best teams when it's all said and done. You got a tough division. Don't worry about what I'm talking about. What you fail to realize is that you look around at the Seahawks and look at their division. They're gonna wipe the floor with that division. They're gonna mop that division up. They have no competition. They're like the Patriots. They're gonna wipe that division clean. I'll be surprised. I wouldn't be shocked. They're probably gonna lose to somebody. The Rams have their number every year, but I wouldn't be surprised if they went 5-1, 6-0. The worst they can do is 4-2 in that division. Okay. They're going to mop that division up. Whereas you, my friend, have a tough division. If you go 3-3, you should be proud of yourself for your division, because anybody at any given time in any given week can get that another team in that division. It's that tough of a division. You just got to worry about your division. You barely got out of Chicago today with a W. And you were supposed to win. And I told you the Bears are going to, much like I said with the Browns, they're going to be better. I keep telling people the Bears aren't to be played with. John Fox is a hell of a coach, and they got enough talent out there to be competitive. They're going to scare some teams. They're not going to win, just like today. I said the same thing about the Browns. They're not going to win, but they're going to scare the hell out of some teams. And if you're not careful, they will beat you. They almost beat the Falcons today. But again, that's how it goes. You got to learn how to win. Bears haven't learned how to win yet. Same thing with the Browns. Same thing with the Titans. Haven't learned how to win yet. You're not going to win these close games against teams that are just better than you are. Zenny Dragon says, love seeing Mike Daniels wreaking havoc in Seattle Seahawks backfield. Man, was he special in this game or what? I said last year that I thought he was one of the best pure nose tackles in this league. And you saw it again today. This guy, you don't get many nose tackles in this league that can win in the run game, create havoc, tackles for losses, allow other guys to make tackles because he's eating up blockers and still making plays. But then to be a pass rusher from that nose tackle position and beat guys off the snap the way that he did in this game, he was just phenomenal. It's fun to watch guys like him dominate up front. They can't block him. He said it himself, and he was right. They had no answer for him in the middle of that defense. He was outstanding. Andrew Kim says, want to see some good defense. Watch the Ravens. They whooped Dalton's ass. I saw 4 interceptions. Boy, I'm going to turn on Dalton's ass so fast this year. I can see it now. After I watched that game, I want to see how bad the damage was, because 4 interceptions just scrolling across the bottom line, it doesn't do it justice. I need to see it. I mean, it could have been a tip off a guy's hand. Could have been a perfect pass, and the guy just allows it to skip off his hands into the hands of it. If these are bad reads, if these are poor throws, and he panics under duress, then I'm going to be all over Dalton's ass, because they didn't score a point. They didn't score a single point today. That's amazing. I can't imagine. BE says, Seattle ain't wiping our division clean. They probably won't. I said that 5-1 is they'll lose to the Rams at least once. The Rams are going to get them at least once. I don't think you're going to get them at all. And I got to see your game. Your defense seemed like they played well, and I didn't watch. Obviously, I haven't seen it yet, but your defense looked like they played a hell of a first half. And even into the third quarter, and then the wheels fell off of the bus. Carson Palmer looked like he turned it over a couple of times in the second half. DJ leaves the game, I'm assuming in the second half at some point. And then Matthew Stafford just went off on you. And I saw Kenny Golladay got you for a couple touchdowns. And then it looks like the wheels just came off. But I don't think your team is going to be that good this season. And we'll find out. We'll see what happens. B also says, look how Seattle played. That O-line is going to get Wilson killed. We have the pass rush to get to Wilson. Did you not see their defense in this game, though? Like, don't just focus on that side of the football. We already knew that side of the football was sketchy at best. They're still going to be carried by their defense, and their defense is good enough to do what the Detroit Lions defense did to your offense and then some. So, look, those division games always are going to be close because those teams know each other, but at the end of the day, Seattle's the cream of the crop in that division. So we'll see what happens. But in any event, that's going to do it for me here on Lockdown Coverage. Week 1, Packers get it done 17-9 over the Seattle Seahawks. And a very competitive football game. I thought the officials, they're getting into the swing of things. They missed some calls. I watched them miss a call in the Redskins game that was very costly. At the end of that game, I saw them miss some calls in this game that were very costly to the Seattle Seahawks. But again, what can you do? You can file your little complaint with the league and they can tell you, oh my God, we're so sorry. Who gives a damn about that? At the end of the day, you already cost us the game. Your apology doesn't change the fact that the officials might have blown some calls in this game and helped the Packers secure a 17-9 victory. Bottom line is, the Packers took care of business at home. The Seahawks didn't take care of business on the road. They've always struggled in Lambeau, and that struggle seems to have continued in week number 1. Seahawks dropped to 0-1. Packers moved to 1-0. And that's going to do it for me here on Lockdown Coverage. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here on the Louie T Network. Come back and join me as I continue to cover this entire league like a blanket here on Lockdown Coverage. I'll be back for Sunday Night Football overtime here on the Louie T Network. I'll see you then. Enjoy the game. NFC East family business. Nobody does it better than the NFC East. I'll see you a little bit later on for the breakdown of this game. At this game's conclusion, meet me here on the Louie T Network for Sunday Night Football overtime. And if you haven't already done so, subscribe to the Louie T Network. I'll see you a little bit later. Enjoy the game.